Yeah. We are back. The Boxing Source podcast is here for February 25th, 2024. That's right. The host is right here. The Boxing Source. We here. We at it. We back. We got a lot of stuff we're going to be talking about here in this particular podcast. I mean, we got, of course, what happened last night over in Orlando, the Caribe Royale Resort in Orlando. There, Edgar Berlanga versus Pedrick McQuarrie. They're in the super middleweight division, and a lot of people are reacting to what happened there for that particular fight and what's going on afterwards there. So we're going to be talking about that. Big ups for everybody that's joining in live. We already got one person here that's been supporting, checking in. Matt Gomez here. Matty is in the house, man. What's up with you? We got a few things here that we're going to be talking about in this particular podcast. We want to, go ahead and dissect what happened there between Edgar Berlanga and Pedrick McQuarrie. And, of course, the comments after that particular bout, there has been a lot of talk about Edgar Berlanga and him potentially facing Canelo Alvarez. Well, I mean, as you've seen the title, man, he shouldn't face Canelo next. That shouldn't even, be in his radar. Shouldn't really be in his radar. You know what I'm saying? So we're going to be getting into that here in this podcast, and then we're going to try to talk about some more topics here within the, sport of boxing. I know that there's a press tour coming up for Devin Haney and Ryan Garcia. I might make it to the one in New York. I might not. We'll see how that goes there. But we're going to, talk a little bit about, what's been going on with that as well. And also, news about Tank Davis potentially fighting Frank Martin in the summer. We're going to try to touch on that here as well, too. So a lot of things here that we're going to be talking about. Just wanted to, get right in, of course, on the main topic at hand. Of course, you had Edgar Berlanga versus Pedrick McQuarrie, two guys that were undefeated. We had a preview of sorts there in reference to this fight that was, on the midweek report there, where I kind of said that, I really didn't give McQuarrie much of a shot to really do much damage, but I felt like Edgar Berlanga was going to go through with the decision. But, before the fight, there was pretty much a little bit of pressure there for Edgar Berlanga to try to get a stoppage victory. Number one, he had, of course, that string of victories there that were first round knockouts. It was 16 straight knockouts within the first round, and then he went ahead and faced Damon D. Best added Nicholson in 2021, and then went through 8 rounds for unanimous decision. And up until this point, he moved up to 10-round bouts. Still had decision victories against Caceres, Steve Rose, and Romer Agulo there before he moved over to fighting in a 12-round bout against Jason Quigley last year. So you had a number of those fights where he said, you know what, man, I'm having these decision victories. I'm not getting a knockout. I'm not getting a knockout. So, here in this fight here against McQuarrie, yeah, I'm really inclined to try to get this knockout victory, stoppage victory, especially, when, we're trying to angle ourselves to get a fight with Canelo Alvarez. So you do, have him with that particular pressure. On the flip side, you had Pedrick McQuarrie, coming out of Ireland, was undefeated going into this bout. Now, I mean, he, had that 18 wins, but only 9 wins by way of knockout. And yeah, he did have a knockout victory that was in the light heavyweight division, but in the super middleweight division, yeah, he had a string of knockouts. But this is also a guy in Pedrick McQuarrie that in 2020 faced a guy that had a record of 9 wins, 118 losses, and 2 draws. And as of 2023, that fighter is still active. So I mean, come on, man. We got to stop with these fights of guys being approved to fight guys that have over 100 losses or over a certain amount of losses, man. That shouldn't even be, approved once you get to a certain level. But that's what happened there with Pedrick McQuarrie. And this one, this was his first bout in the U.S. in this particular bout where you had a little bit on the line, you know what I'm saying? A shout out to Android in the building. Yeah, we had some good boxing this weekend. Of course, you had the thing in Orlando and also, what happened over in Japan too. Hopefully, I'll be able to touch on those events that happened in Japan because you had one fighter that kind of stood out in that particular fight card that wasn't in the main event, but won very impressively in their bout, where they won a world title. So hopefully, I'll talk about that part as well. But back to the joint here with of course, Edgar Berlanga and Pedro McCrory. Had that tail of the tape. Both of these guys were there around 6'1" there, but Berlanga, of course, had the experiences against, like I said, Steve Rose, Romer Angulo, his last bout against Jason Quigley, where he scored multiple knockdowns, but wasn't able to quite finish the fight. But here in this bout against McCrory, it's his first bout where he returned with his old trainer, his former trainer. Like I said, he moved over to Florida. I think it's pretty much right near Tampa, Florida, instead of being out in New York City. So he's kind of like grounding himself a little bit there, and just focus more on fighting and being more of a more complete fighter. And he wanted to show that here in this bout against Pedro McCrory. And in the first round, man, I mean, I kind of saw like in the first round, he was very tentative in that particular round, man. I said, they're live that I pretty much like counted 7 punches, like 7 punches total, 7 punches that he even threw in the first round. So it was like he was, waiting to see what Pedro McCrory was doing. And one of the other things that I saw there, on the zone was they were trying to build McCrory up. They were trying to build McCrory up, talking about, he has 9 knockouts, but he got a lot of power behind his punch and everything like that. I'm like, man, if you see that he has 9 knockouts in 18 fights, and you look at the guys that he stopped, I'm like, come on, I didn't really, give him that much of a shot to, really have Edgar Berlanga in trouble there, but he was still, working a little bit there in the first round, throwing a few shots there while Edgar Berlanga was very tentative, trying to figure out the range out there against against Pedro McCrory. So I only seen like, 7 whole punches. Oh man, what's going on? Fighter IQ in the building, man. Y'all be, hey, I haven't seen him around here in a bit, man. What's going on, Fighter IQ? He be out there putting in hard work out there in the boxing game, man. Y'all be sure to follow Fighter IQ if you haven't done so already. He's been doing a whole lot of work, particularly over there in the West Coast. I've seen him there, be at a couple of East Coast fights too. So, y'all be sure to check him out over at Fighter IQ, man. So big ups to him joining in live here for this boxing conversation. Back at it, like that first round, I really didn't see much out of Edgar Berlanga. Just about 7 punches, that he even threw. Like I ain't even say like he landed that many things there. He just like threw, pretty much 7 punches. You know what I'm saying? So that first round was a filling out process. Then he opened it up in the second round with a few more combinations here and there, while trying to see what McCrory was doing. And, even though McCrory was landing a couple of shots there, it wasn't, something where it kind of like really affected Edgar Berlanga. So, I was just looking more about when Edgar Berlanga was going to seriously affect McCrory with a power shot, so he was, kind of like aiming for that, right hand, but also trying to develop the jab and try to be consistent with the jab. So, over the course of those first few rounds, you've seen Berlanga try to build more with that particular jab and kind of like follow up with that. And then, after, round 3, you've seen him, go to the body a little bit more, try to bring down the guard of, Pedro McCrory. So, I thought he mixed up his attack pretty well from the third round into the fourth, not just going upstairs, but going to the body. So I felt like that was good. You know what I'm saying? Oh, man, we already got a suggestion there from Matt Gomez. He says that Edgar should test himself against Caleb Plant. All right, I'll note that down as one fighter there in the super middleweight division that could be a potential opponent there for Edgar Berlanga, because like I said, Canelo, nah, that ain't it. That ain't it for him. But Caleb Plant, I'll mark that down. I didn't have him on my list, but I'll mark that down. But back onto the joints here, man. Like I said, with Berlanga kind of like going to the body, that opened up a little bit more there for Edgar Berlanga, because McCrory started to, I would say his offense kind of like dropped a little bit after the fourth round, and that you've seen him kind of be, kind of react to the body shots. Some of them were low, but you could still see that Edgar had a dedicated attack to the body, and once he seen that it was affecting McCrory, he just kept going to it. And I think it was around the end of the fourth round or going into the into the fifth, you seen that McCrory was very frustrated, whether it was kind of like a borderline shot or a low blow. You seen that McCrory was frustrated when Edgar was throwing like left hooks to the body. It was like left hooks to the body. He just kept going to it. Bam. Even like he would try to throw that as a counterpunch, to what McCrory was doing. He would just go right back in and go with the the left to the body, because he had his right hand up for the jab, pretty much to try to catch the jab of McCrory, and then just came back with the left hook to the body. And whether it was a solid shot or at the belt line or a little bit low, you could see that Pedro McCrory was very bothered by that. And then after that, you seen McCrory's like guard kind of drop down a little bit, and that opened it up for Edgar Berlanga to open up more, I would say, in the sixth round. And once he had McCrory in trouble, backed him up to the ropes, and landed a couple of right hand shots, with the final right hand shot putting down McCrory to the canvas, and McCrory just couldn't get up before the 10 count. He was pretty much like tired. His legs was gone before that particular point, man. And it wasn't like a I wouldn't necessarily say like a one-hitter quitter, basically, that put down McCrory, but it was something that was enough to, drop McCrory there. So Edgar Berlanga gets that 6th round victory, man, 6th round stoppage victory. It was something that, he felt like he really needed there, to kind of like build himself up in the super middleweight division. And I mean, he's there, stays undefeated. He gets a 17th KO victory of his career. He's 22-0, and they said that at this point that was a WBA eliminator, and I'm like, man. And I don't know if the WBA said it was like a final eliminator or whatever, but from last month's rankings or the end of last month, you had McCrory ranked at number 3 in the WBA, and Edgar Berlanga ranked at number 8 in the WBA. And so they're like saying, hey, since we got this done, let's boost up this fighter or the winner of this fight to be the quote unquote challenger for the WBA title. Now, does that mean it would be the mandatory challenge for the WBA Super Championship? And that's where he said the whole thing with Canelo Alvarez, man. And I'm like, nah, man, nah. Nope. You had another fighter that was there in attendance that holds a world title of sorts there in David Morrell Jr. And that could have been a potential opponent there for Edgar Berlanga. But I'm like saying, nah, not even David Morrell Jr. And the funny thing is, I think it was after the fight when they were talking about Edgar Berlanga, and I think someone from Fight Hype had mentioned David Morrell Jr. to Edgar Berlanga, as David Morrell was in attendance there at the Kareem Royale Orlando venue there, right? And he's like, Edgar Berlanga's like, no. I'm over to bigger and better things. I ain't even considering David Morrell Jr. We just focus on Canelo. Like, wow, come on, man. Y'all really wilding with this one. Like, David Morrell Jr. is one of the top fighters there at 168, and probably the most dangerous fighter at 168 at this point. Like you don't see David Benavidez mentioning Morrell's name as far as like potential opponent. You don't see Canelo Alvarez mentioning his name as a potential opponent. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, man, yeah. Even Gabe Rosado wanted some action. He was there in attendance at the Orlando and said that he wanted to fight with Edgar Berlanga. He's been calling for that fight for at least a few months now. So you got Gabe Rosado, you got David Morrell Jr., you got, some people were mentioning David Benavidez. Man, I've even heard, or what was it? Terrence Crawford was mentioning Steven Nelson. Oh man, that's like 4. And you got, like I said, Caleb Plant. Man, that's like 5. Oh man, so that's a whole bunch, man. And I even heard from folks over in Philly that said, man, Jesse Hart. You could put Jesse Hart up in there. Jesse Hart could be a potential opponent, out there for Edgar Berlanga, man. But I'm like, you got Berlanga, continuing to call Canelo's name. You got the zone, being all up in arms and saying that, hey, maybe he should face Canelo next and whatever. And I'm like, nah, man, that ain't even happening. That shouldn't even be suggested, not even from either side. Of course, you got Canelo that kind of like written off a couple of opponents already. He written off Terrence Crawford. He's, they basically written off David Benavidez. So those 2 opponents aren't out there. One other guy that's out there in the super middleweight division, man, that had a fight, what was it, last month, that also was a potential opponent for Canelo Alvarez, is Jaime Munguia. And, some people may say that Jaime Munguia and maybe Edgar Berlanga, that would be, a good matchup there in the super middleweight division, right? I mean, you got Munguia there. He's ranked number 1 in the WBC and in the WBO. And of course, you got Berlanga, like I said, is going to be, up in the ranks there in the WBA, and also is ranked in the WBO as well, too, and the WBC. But, even Berlanga and Munguia, I'm not even seeing that. I'm not even seeing that as a potential fight there at super middleweight. There's another fighter there. Now even like he coming up with a whole bunch of names out there in the super middleweight division. Even Demetrius Andrade. I mean, Andrade pretty much got handled. He got handled out there. Of course, against David Benavidez, man. So you got even Demetrius Andrade as a possible opponent there for Edgar Berlanga. But man, I ain't even considering him next. There's another undefeated fighter out there in the super middleweight division that is a very impressive fighter. That is, out there, young, 22 years old, with a 20-0 record. He has a fight that's coming up in April against another undefeated opponent. But I'm telling you, man, and he has a common opponent too, Edgar Berlanga, and was able to stop him. And that was back in November. He stopped Coceres. And that guy is Diego Pacheco. Yeah, I say Edgar Berlanga versus Diego Pacheco, man. Y'all go ahead and go ahead and try to make that fight after we see what happens with Pacheco, who's going to be fighting in April 6th over in Las Vegas. He should be able to handle his opponent there in Las Vegas on April. And man, like I said, I'm not seeing Edgar Berlanga, facing Canelo Alvarez. I'm not seeing that. All those other guys that I pretty much mentioned, nah, I ain't seeing that either. Either you could have Munguia and Canelo, pretty much happen, or like maybe like Canelo, like I said, Canelo versus Jamal Charlo is kind of looking like that. That's the move for May 4th, So these other guys that were mentioned, like Caleb Plant, they like, from a while, Matt, I heard like Caleb Plant, as far as like his return fight, it might not be like a high profile fight of sorts. So you might like see him in there against somebody that maybe some fans would be disappointed in. Like they want to have playing versus Jamal Charlo, but if only if we don't see Jamal Charlo versus Canelo Alvarez in May. That's the only thing. You know what I'm saying? So there's that, man. But yeah, I'm saying, man, Diego Pacheco is a really, really, really solid fighter. He faced Marcelo Caceres in his last bout, was able to stop Caceres there in 9 rounds. When this guy has fought some solid fighters out there in the super middleweight division, Caceres, that is. Recently he's fought Pacheco. He fought Eric Brazilian that was undefeated. He fought Berlanga that was undefeated. He fought Merriman Sultanov that was undefeated. So he's faced a number of guys there that are some solid fighters within the super middleweight division. Although that Nursultanov one that was a couple of years back, that wasn't even that super middleweight, man. So, but he's still like a solid opponent, solid fighter. And Diego Pacheco, was able to, get the win there within 9 rounds. So that, like I said, Pacheco there versus Edgar Berlanga, y'all might as well go ahead and make that fight. You said Sebastian Fedora. Well, hey, I mean, Fedora's out there in the super welterweight division. Of course, he got his fight coming up March 30th. It's supposed to be for the WBC super welterweight title there. So, I mean, he's got something, a big fight there that he's preparing for against Sergey Boyachuk. So, while Fedora, has the frame that he should be out there at 168 or 175, he's still, there hanging out at 154 pounds, man. So, definitely want to see what would be next out there for Fedora if he is able to get that win against Bohachuk for that the WBC super welterweight title. But outside of that, I mean, who knows, right? But like I said, back to the joint with Berlanga, man. Like you got Eddie Hearn, he's trying to talk, he's trying to give his selling point for Berlanga, saying, okay, it's Mexico versus Puerto Rico. It would be big to have that going on or whatever it is there for Edgar Berlanga. But like I said, I don't really even consider Edgar Berlanga right now within the top 10 of the super middleweight division. Just don't. Like I have it, with guys like Pacheco. I put Pacheco up there in the top 10 of the super middleweight division, at this point. Of course, you got Canelo there up top. You got David Benavidez around there. You got David Morrell around there. You got Christian and Billy, that's out there. Who you got Caleb Plant that's still like a top 5 guy. Jaime Munguia is there within the top 10, and probably like a few other fighters there that you could probably put in the top 10 over over Berlanga. So I would say like Berlanga should go ahead and fight one of those guys that are like within that 7 to 10 range, in the super middleweight division before even considering facing like a Canelo. Like folks are like saying for Canelo, like fight someone like a David Benavidez or like a David Morrell Jr. You know what I'm saying? Like they're not really open to the fight or potential fight with Jamal Charlo. But if he's not gonna face David Benavidez, if he's not gonna face like a David Morrell, and he said no to a Terrence Crawford, then what else is out there? But yeah, for Berlanga, really shouldn't be talking about Canelo here at this point. That's not a good look. I don't think it's a good look for you to try to go ahead and face Canelo, whether it's May or September or whatever. Like you could try to petition with the WBA or whatever it is, but over the last few times with the WBA, right? The fighter that was kind of like at the top there of the WBA rankings, or ranked at number one, ended up fighting the WBA regular champion, who was David Morrell Jr. So, hey, they would probably try to do that again, David Morrell Jr. And we already know that, Berlanga, you said Morrell ain't even in your radar, or you ain't even really entertaining that bout against David Morrell Jr. and you just want to face Canelo Alvarez. I'm like, nah, man, you don't need to be doing all that. You don't really need to be doing all that. Just go ahead and continue to try to fight these guys that are within the top 20, like within that, I would say the 10 to 20 range there in the super middleweight division. Maybe a guy that's, a little bit above the top 10, but that's why I mentioned Diego Pacheco for Edgar Berlanga, man. Diego Pacheco, I'm saying, is a really, really solid fighter there at super middleweight. Kind of like building himself up well in the super middleweight division. Is ranked, what I say, he's ranked there at number 4 in the WBC. He's ranked, he's ranked number 7 in the WBA. He was ranked above Edgar Berlanga before Berlanga's win that he had yesterday. So I'm saying, why not go for that? I don't see like a Munguia versus Pacheco there in Golden Boy or something like it. Y'all have worked together for some fights. So Matchroom, you got Eddie Hearn. You can go ahead and give Oscar De La Hoya a call and say, hey, I got this guy right here, man. And Edgar Berlanga, that's really trying to build himself to be a star. I know that you got a guy coming up in the ranks saying Diego Pacheco that's undefeated. So let's see what happens with Pacheco after his fight in April, and then make that fight happen. I know that Berlanga was talking about, well, yeah, we do have one more fight under Matchroom, after this bout here against McCrory. So I don't know, man. And after the fight, it was funny because you had Berlanga kind of like really kissing up to Eddie Hearn, excuse me, talking about, oh, this is the greatest promoter of all time, Eddie Hearn. I'm like, come on, man, don't be doing all that when we just heard you like 5 or 6 days ago saying that, hey, man, after this particular fight and one more fight on the Matchroom, I'm a free agent. So which one are you? Are you a free agent, or are you sticking with Matchroom? Like, what is it there with Edgar Berlanga, man? But I'm saying that he's there super middleweight, and he should just go ahead and just try to keep his fights going and all that type of stuff, and just be happy with getting a couple wins here and there that could be around the top 20 there in the super middleweight division before even suggesting Canelo Alvarez at this point. I bet you said like 40-year-old Badu Jack would beat Berlanga, man. I don't. Badu Jack is, kind of like he's looking like he's trying to pursue a Canelo fight too, man. I don't even know, man. I don't know what's up with Badu Jack at this point. What's going on the live chat? Tim Layton is on here, just boxing talk, man. What's going on with you, man? Like I said, Edgar Berlanga, he did get that 6th round stoppage victory over Pedro McCrory last night in Orlando. You had Eddie Hearn pretty much like say, hey, he predicted that it wouldn't go past 6 rounds. Well, at least he was able to hit on that. Maybe he should have placed a bet on that, to be within 6 or something. I don't know. But Berlanga, I don't know if I would kind of say that he's like vastly improved or whatever it is. Maybe he kind of like was a little bit more patient on the offensive side of things. For defense, you've seen he got tagged a few times. He had a couple of bruises here and there, but nothing that, like I said, nothing where he really had much trouble taking shots there from Pedro McCrory. Like I was saying before, yeah, McCrory was coming in that fight 18-0 with knockouts, and they were talking about, oh, well, they got a stoppage victory in the light heavyweight division where he won the IBO light heavyweight title. I'm like, man, that ain't much, after that, because even since then, like, you really didn't see McCrory in there with other solid opponents, where you could say like, hey, this could be a serious threat there for Edgar Berlanga. It was more about what Edgar Berlanga was going to do in this bout, given that he, kind of rolled things back as far as like what he's doing in the gym. And he built up to a little bit more of a solid showing before getting a stoppage, but at first it looked like he was tentative and trying to figure out what he was going to do in that particular bout. But it was a solid performance for him. He was able to get that 6-round stoppage win. They're now 22-0, but like I said, he really shouldn't even consider going after Canelo next, man. Like we already know that Canelo is locked down for a fight on May 4th. It's just about who his opponent is going to quote unquote officially be, so that's pretty much all we're waiting on with that. So Berlanga, like I said, I say you go over to Las Vegas in April and you check out Diego Pacheco. And when he has his fight coming up, it's supposed to be scheduled for April 6th against Sean McCollum. There, the Fountain Blue in Las Vegas. So I'll say you should go over there. You should check out Diego Pacheco, and you should say, hey, maybe that should be a fighter that I should consider facing here, next before you even think about fighting Canelo Alvarez. You shouldn't be fighting Canelo Alvarez in May. You shouldn't fight him in September. You shouldn't fight him. I don't know if you should really even have a suggestion of fighting Canelo Alvarez in 2025. Like, don't even think about that. Just go ahead and try your luck with these other fighters there in the super middleweight division. Build your reputation up, and then maybe you get that high profile fight there at super middleweight, whether it's against Canelo or anybody else that's out there or that could still be out there in 2025, whether it's like David Morrell Jr. or Jaime McGee or somebody like that. But Canelo right now, that would be bad on all fronts, and some folks are talking about, oh, well, Canelo Alvarez, he already had these, fights against, what is it, man? Like Jermell Charlo that came up from 154, or, a fight that he had against Avni Yildirim in 2021. And I'm like, yeah, but even with that, like, fight fans really don't want to see like Canelo against a guy that's not, like I said, not even within the top 10 of the super middleweight division. And yeah, I know the thing with Jamal Charlo, but remember, Jamal Charlo was supposed to be Canelo's opponent last September. And we all saw what was happening with Jamal Charlo. And I don't know if he's shaking that off yet or not. But I mean, at least right now, it seems like what I'd say 60% that'll be Jamal Charlo for Canelo on May 4th. So Edgar Berlanga, you might as well forget about that. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, go after Diego Pacheco. That's probably the best fight that you could make here at 168 pounds at this point, especially coming off of this win that she had against Pedrick McCoy. Go fight Diego Pacheco, undefeated versus undefeated, another undefeated versus undefeated fight. And, go ahead and take that on, man. Hey, we got Aunt McQueen up in the building, man. What's going on there with you, man? I don't know if, I might go ahead and, do a couple of things here in a bit, man, because, we're talking about what's happening, last week. And, if there's like anybody that, wanted to chime in on it, we'll pretty much like open the things up here for y'all to come up and chop it up a little bit as far as like reacting to Edgar Berlanga's performance against Pedrick McCoy. And of course they did their whole little selling point about trying to fight Canelo next, but like I said, that shouldn't even be under consideration. You even had like, the announcers in the zone was saying like, you know what, even after what we've seen here with Edgar Berlanga, like Canelo should go ahead and face, that he should go ahead and face Jaime McGee, you know. So I'm like, yeah, even with that, man. Matt says like Canelo has not done anything since the Bivol loss, man. A fight with him is still hitting the boxing lottery. Yeah, man. Yeah, like Bivol, like he had the fight against Golovkin, then he had the fight against Ryder, which was the I guess the WBO Mando that he honored there for that, and then the fight with Jamel Charlo. So not really much of a impressive thing there. I mean, you got, like I said, you got David Benavidez as the WBC interim champion, and the WBC posts on their website that Benavidez is going to face Alexander Kovacic for the interim title at light heavyweight. Like, come on. You got David Morrell Jr. with the WBA belt, and now they're talking about the WBA ain't really said nothing, about what they're going to do with the mandatory. They just announced that the fight that happened last night was an eliminator bout, like I said, you got those guys trying to push for them to call the WBA mandatory for that. I'm like, nah, that ain't happening either. WBO, you got Jaime McGee there at number one. They ain't really, mentioned nothing yet. The IBF, they have been really slow in reference to this particular division. Like you have William Skoll and Vladimir Shishkin. They're supposed to be having that fight already for the final eliminator for the IBF, and that still hasn't happened yet, as far as I know. So I don't even think they had like anything planned for it. That's the crazy part about it. Like, Shishkin has pretty much been, waiting for that bout to, take place, and it hasn't been announced or anything yet. So, that's the only thing that we're waiting on for the IBF. So, like, super middleweight division has pretty much been, kind of like locked up, there ever since Canelo was the undisputed champion after defeating Caleb Plant for the IBF belt. So, you got that, man. But I'm telling y'all, like this super middleweight division, you could pretty much have like all these fighters just end up fighting each other, man. Just go ahead and sort that whole thing out. And Canelo, if he's not gonna face Benavidez, then who else would be there, man? We got a random interesting question. You think Andre Ward avoided a prime Adonis Stevenson? Now, I think this is coming off of Ward. Andre Ward had what was it? He had those fights there with Sergey Kovalev, man, and he was able to get the wins there over Sergey Kovalev. And what is it like after that? That was pretty much it. That was a wrap, So he didn't continue his career. He didn't try to go after Undisputed. He could have probably went after Undisputed at that particular point, man. But he just, didn't, consider that there. But I don't know, man. That would have been an interesting fight. That would have been an interesting fight there. Whatever it would have been, around 2017. Maybe 2017. You had, Stevenson. He was still the WBC champ at the time, and then the next year he fought Badou Jack, where Badou Jack, I felt like Badou Jack blew that. He blew that fight. He could have beat Adonis Stevenson in that one, but it ended up being a draw, and Stevenson built his way back up into that and ended up being a draw. And then that next fight was when you seen Stevenson get stopped by Alexander Kovacic. So that kind of like nullified that particular thing from happening, I guess, later on down the line. But, like I said, Ward ended up retiring after those two fights against Sergey Kovalev. But Stevenson, at that point, he was still potentially a opponent there that could have been for Kovalev. But, that didn't necessarily happen. And then Kovalev fought, Andre Ward and lost twice to Andre Ward. So, probably would have been an interesting bout, but I just felt like I guess Ward just said, you know what, I'm getting out the game on my terms, and I'm gonna just say peace out, which is crazy because even after that, it was like a few years, like Ward was being mentioned for like potential fights against Canelo Alvarez. I'm like, yo, that's crazy. And that's like what in 2018, 2019. But I don't know. Maybe if Andre Ward, maybe if Andre Ward fought Adonis Stevenson and won, and he would have been a 2 division undisputed champion, way before all this other stuff here with like with Terrence Crawford and Io Inoue. So there was that, but he left. He was out the game, and now he's a Hall of Famer. So you do have that, man. Big ups to Juice in the building, joining in right here live, man. Like I said, you had the whole joint with Edgar Berlanga getting that win over Pedro McCrory, getting a stoppage victory. 6-round knockout. As part of that event card there in Orlando, Florida. You had what was it in the co-feature about Andy Cruz against Brian Zamaripa. It was Andy Cruz's 3rd pro fight. There he got a shutout victory, 190. It was a solid performance there from Andy Cruz. There, of course, he's like one of those guys that's really going up the ranks quickly there in the lightweight division. You know him as a gold medalist, a guy that has beaten Keyshawn Davis multiple times in the amateurs. They've been suggested as potential rivals later on down the line as pros. But I really don't see that fight happening anytime soon. You got Keyshawn Davis, that's been suggested as an opponent there for Floyd Schofield. Which I'll kind of talk about Floyd Schofield later if I can, but yeah, with Andy Cruz, he's just getting these fights in already in 10-round bouts in his 3rd professional fight. I mean, of course, y'all had like the whole little Lomachenko stuff that happened years back where he was fighting for a world title in his 2nd pro fight. But you have Andy Cruz here, coming off the amateurs, having that gold medal victory, and then he's already been in 3 pro fights that have been 10-round bouts. And he has 1 stoppage victory, but 2 of those 3 went the full 10 rounds, and they were shutout victories. He was only lost like a couple rounds in one judge's scorecard so far within 3 fights. So definitely looking forward to seeing what Andy Cruz is gonna do here later on down the line. Of course, he's up there in Philadelphia in the camp there with Bootsy Ennis, of course, the father of Jerome Boots Ennis there. But Andy Cruz is a really, really solid fighter. I'm looking to see like what more he could do, because you kind of seen those elements of him, mixing in that defense and offense and being able to transition from defense to offense very well, as far as doing catch and shoots, counter punching, just being able to block a lot of the shots that his opponents are, throwing at him. And I feel like it was, a very solid performance there from Andy Cruz. In comparison to the bout that was before that, that one there, oh my God, that was a struggle to get through, man. That Shakur Stevenson versus Pablo Cesar Cano, that was a whole struggle to get through, man. That was, man, I'm telling you, if I was there in Orlando, man, I would have been like, oh, this shouldn't have been it. And the wildest thing is, like, Cano had been, campaigning out there. What was it like in the 140-pound division or whatever it is? Like, he's been at 140, for a long time. He had been at 147 in the early parts of his career. He's fought Shane Mosley, he's fought Paulie Malignaggi, a few other fighters there. He's fought Ashley Theophane. Yeah, that's a name for you, Ashley Theophane. But guess what? All of them fights have been 2012, 2013, and he's still out here fighting. Like, come on. Like, he fought Jorge Linares at 140 in 2019. So, I mean, you got this guy has been in there. What damn man? It's been like 18 years in Pablo Cesar Cano and Shakur Stevenson. Oh, they say, oh, we got all this stuff with this amateur background and this, that, and the third, and he's supposed to be a very impressive fighter and everything like that. And I'm like, man, that thing was like a whole struggle to go through. And if it wasn't for, Pablo Cano, man, suffering an ankle injury there at the end of the 11th round, we would have gone through 12 rounds of that stuff, full 12 rounds, man. You know what I'm saying? That was just a whole struggle. But Gearshaw's supposed to be number one there in the WBA, and that he should potentially, have a fight against the WBA champion. No, not Terrence Crawford. No. It is Iamana Stanionis. You know what I'm saying? So, and Stanionis said like a week or two ago that he, was supposed to be having a fight coming up. So I don't know, man. What's going on, Champ Ross? Champ Ross in the building, man. He said, he thinks that he's 34 years old, dog years. Man, I'm telling you, because you've been in the game for this long, man. 2006. Good gracious, are you still active? That's wild, man. Be out there since 2006. And you still out here fighting. That's crazy there, man, that he's out there, man. We got another question out here from Matt. If Anthony Joshua beats Francis Ngannou, does he get Tyson Fury? No. Nah. Some folks are still not confident that Tyson Fury is going to be in there against Alexander Usyk on May 18th. Okay. So there's that. So you got to get out the way of that first. And second is, even if Fury, fights and wins, he's still obligated to a rematch with Alexander Usyk. So with that being said, and if y'all have caught me on there with Joseph Herron of War Week Boxing, we talked with Coach Ronnie Shields, who trains the number one contender currently for the IBF in Philip Hrgovic, and it's supposed to be Joshua versus Hrgovic for the vacant IBF title. So be on the lookout for that. Big ups for my guy coming in here to join. Brother Ann McQueen is in the building with us. To talk some boxing. What's going on, my boy?
Yes, sir. I'm feeling fantastic. How about yourself? How are you?
Oh man, I'm all good, man. I'm all good in this little Sunday night, whatever it is. It's talking boxing. We had the fight card there with Edgar Berlanga that went through, man. I made my suggestion on who he should fight next, man, because Canelo, nah, he shouldn't even think about that, man. What did you think about Berlanga's performance here?
I don't know. I really don't know what to think about him, honestly. I think that he's got some really good attributes. I just feel like he just needs a little bit more sophistication, because clearly the power is there. But then once we saw him take a step up in class, he wasn't able to get guys out of there. What was it, like a 4 or 5 fight streak without a stoppage? After 16 straight within the first round or two.
Mm-hmm.
And then I remember watching that Steve Rolls fight, and I said, sheesh, like he could hardly lay a hand on him. I guess he did enough to get the victory, get the decision, but yeah, it's like I just think he just needs a little bit more seasoning, like learning how to set his shots up.
Right.
Just the small things, because I think that he definitely has the talent. Like, you can see him, you can see the talent is there. He does have the thing that you can't teach, which is power. He's got that, but got to learn how to set them shots up. The other thing too is doing something off of some of the things that he's doing. Like for example, yesterday I saw he was implementing a little bit of lead hand control, using his right hand to control McCrory's lead hand a tad bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel you on that. feel you on that. I kind of like seeing a couple of elements there, where Berlanga was, kind of like mixing up his offense. I mentioned that he, kind of like dedicated to the body of McCrory in the third and fourth round, started to do that. And, once he did that and McCrory like had a separate reaction to it, like he was really affected by those punches and was kind of like frustrated, whether, it was, like I said, borderline or a low blow or anything like that. You could still see that McCrory was not very happy in receiving those shots, and you seen him frustrated. You seen his corner being frustrated during that particular bout. But, I think when he started to dedicate more shots to the body, that's when he had more success, at least trying to go upstairs or trying to land shots upstairs because, after a while, you had McCrory's, lead hand or left hand pretty much like go down, like his guard, it wasn't like, his guard was up, with his left hand. It was like he pretty much just had his right hand up and then his left hand was going closer to the body because he wanted to protect the body from getting those shots there from Edgar Berlanga. And that, the power is still there, but it's just that he doesn't quite have the technique down, and I think that he still has to work a little bit more on that technique in order to, mix a few more things up. You know what I'm saying? And I think, with him being back with his, original trainer, maybe they'll be able to build more on that. Shout out Champ Ross, man. Hey, like I said, man, Berlanga Pacheco, like, come on, it's right there. Like, why
It's
not?
Not a bad matchup. It's not a bad matchup at all. I like it.
It'd be a good matchup. Two prospects on the rise. One has to win. It really see it in the U.S. But UK does this a lot with their guys. You see a number of those guys, whether they're like, 11-0, 12-0, or 15-0 and 16-0, and they'll get matched up. So I'm saying, why not have that, happen here? Pacheco.
I agree.
Pacheco, had his last bout against Coceres, who, was able to, I think he was able to knock down Edgar Berlanga back in 2021. There,
he dropped him, I want to say, in the 9th round.
Yep.
I was watching it the other day. He dropped him in the 9th.
Yep. So, he ended up dropping him in the 9th round, and that was just part of that whole little process that, whether Berlanga just fell in love with his power and just was not really working on anything else. And, like you said, 5 fights that he went through those full, 10 rounds or 12 rounds. And even in his last fight that he had, against Jason Quigley, he got a knockdown in the 3rd and the 5th, but he still wasn't able to finish off Jason Quigley in that one. So, here against McCrory, he was just very, very happy that he was able to get the KO victory. But I just think that he worked a little bit more on trying to mix up his offense. You know what I'm saying? Champ says, hey, not all prospects are good prospects. If we find out which ones goes to the next level, that's the thing about it is like, I mean, how are they matching these guys up to where we could say, hey, we think that he could be a real serious contender in the division. And, as of right now with Berlanga, it's like they're matching them up kind of carefully at this particular point. But I'd say, him against Diego Pacheco, after Pacheco has this fight coming up in April in Las Vegas, that should be the fight to make there at super middleweight. Like, don't even suggest Canelo Alvarez. Like, what's the point of that? Like, you had David Morrell Jr. in attendance. He was supporting Andy Cruz there in that fight card, but he was able to watch Berlanga there, and he said, man, like, Berlanga is food. And even Berlanga was like saying, nah, I don't even want to, consider David Morrell Jr. So I'm like, well, if you're not going to do that, then, like I said, go ahead and try to get in a fight with Diego Pacheco. Like, why try to go after Canelo Alvarez, whether it's May or September or whatever? No, don't even do that. Like, just go ahead and build yourself up there in the super middleweight division And maybe in 2025 or whatever it is, maybe you could find your way into fighting Canelo Alvarez, since Canelo says that he wants to fight for 5 more years. So you definitely do have that, man. Big ups for joining in live here, man. I was talking about the rest of that fight card that was going down. I talked about the Andy Cruz fight, Giashov. Like, I don't even know what he could do with the welterweight division. Even if he fought like Stanionis, I feel like Stanionis just outclasses him. He outclasses him there at welterweight. So Giashov, you got a whole lot of work to do, man. If you can't, you can't even finish off Cano. And there were like a couple of instances where Cano like caught Giashov that staggered him a couple of times there. So it almost seemed like he was in a little bit of an issue there, with that one. So there was that. You also had where's the joint? Oh yeah, the Antonio Vargas versus Jonathan Rodriguez fight that was in the bantamweight division. That was a good little scrap there for good few rounds. Rodriguez was able to drop Vargas in the first round, but then got knocked down in the second round, and it was just a little bit of a bout where Vargas just ended up beating up Rodriguez over the rest of the fight. And by the end of the that last round, Rodriguez's corner, which was like, well, the trainer is his father, he just said, what, man, I can't send you out there for another round. If I hadn't seen you like really get back into it. And it was almost like Rodriguez was looking for the right hand over the last few rounds, not really putting shots together to set that up. So Vargas was, a whole lot more successful in those rounds and just beat up Jonathan Rodriguez to get that stoppage victory. So, those were like, mainly the 4 fights that were on there. You had like a few other bouts that were on. I think, what was it? Joseph Fernandez got an upset win over Aaron Aponte in that fight card as well. So that was kind of like solid. That was a solid fight card that you had there in Orlando. You also had what it was over in Japan. You had like 3 world title fights, and you also had like one fight with like Jonas Sultan there in the bantamweight division. And man, like he got busted up with a body shot in the first round. Man, it didn't even take that long. Rico Masuda like hit him with a body shot, and it was a wrap. So there was that. You had Kosei Tanaka against Christian Wakasega for the WBO super flyweight title, and Tanaka was able to outpoint Wakasega for a unanimous decision win to win that. And to me, the fighter of the night, or the fighter of the evening, man, Junta Nakatani, like he beat Alejandro Santiago, and that one was like a clear shutout en route to that stoppage. He moved up from the that super flyweight division to go after Santiago's belt. Santiago had beat, what was it? He beat
Filipino Flash. Yep, he just beat Filipino Flash in his last fight.
Flash, like he got the unanimous decision win over that, but even like in that particular fight, you seem like Donaire just didn't really have it. So that was kind of like his last real shot of trying to win a world title, and he just couldn't really get himself going in that bout against Santiago. But Nagatani, of course, had came up from the super flyweight division, had knocked out Andrew Maloney in a
walk-off fashion, in 12th round, man. To be honest with you, I didn't really like that knockout, man. I didn't like it. It's always difficult for me to see, man.
Yeah. I feel you. Like my thing was with that particular fight, like Maloney had already been knocked down twice, And in the 11th round, I thought they were going to stop it there in the 11th round, you know. And then that 12th round came through. And then when he hit him with that shot, man, yeah, man, it was a wrap, man. It was like, oh man, this oof. Like that was painful. It was a knockout of the year candidate, but it was painful to see there. It was painful to see for sure, man. Yeah, man. Um, this is he said what is it? Yeah, Japanese putting it down. He says Teofimo versus Subio Matias. He picks Teofimo. Interesting. Interesting. I'll say this. Teofimo Lopez would probably prefer a fighting style like Subio Matias over, you know, those fighting styles like he had with his last fight against Jermaine Ortiz or, you know, against Sandor Martin. Like he really can't fight those guys because Teofimo is more of like a counterpunching type of fighter. He's more of that type of style to, you know, make you pay. He's not really an aggressive come forward type of guy because he really doesn't put punches together like that. You've seen that in that fight against Jermaine Ortiz. Like, where was his jab? I pretty much said that, like, you know, after the fight, I was like, where was the jab from Teofimo Lopez? You know what I'm saying? Oh man, you know what I'm saying? Oh man. Hey, we got Supreme Beats Boxing Talk in the building, man. Salute to you, man. Yo, what's been going on with you? You know what I'm saying? They got their boxing talk going on too. Y'all be sure to check out their YouTube channel. They've been putting it down here, man. They have their conversations too, man. Whether you know it's boxing talk or you know they got other topics that they be talking about. They got like after dark topics. If you're into all that, you know, y'all be sure to support Supreme Beats Boxing Talk too, man. You know, those my guys right there, man. You know what I'm saying? Those my guys. When I was talking about that whole joint with Nakatani, man, hey, I'm telling you, man, he's a really, really solid fighter. You know, he's a really solid fighter. You got that, you know, he's won the title in the flyweight division, super flyweight division, and now he has a world title there in the bantamweight division. So he's like a 3-division world champion already. We'll see what he could do here in the bantamweight division, man. That's gonna be something, man. Because you had Takuma Inoue there, that was part of the same card, right? You know, that was able to get a stoppage win himself against Joran Ancajas there, where he had a pretty solid performance there against Ancajas. So, hey, I don't know, man. Nakatani versus Inoue, Takuma Inoue for unification. That would be a serious fight right there. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, that would be sensational, man. I gotta give so much props to Inoue's to both of their dads, man. Like I said, both of their dads, but to their dad, because those guys, they're just so technically sound. To be honest with you, I was watching Takuma and I said, man, I've seen him do stuff in that last fight that I hadn't seen the Monster do, honestly. Because when you look at the Monster, everything with him is typically from the outside and mid-range. He don't really have that strong of an inside game. He really doesn't. But to see his brother, and he's in there, and he's body to body, chest to chest, he had a couple of moments. He was kind of looking like James Toney, and I guess he's a little bit more like physically stronger, but he lacks the punching power. So you got to make up for it in other ways. Like you got to be crafty that way. But to see the way he was fighting on the inside, I said, damn, he was doing a tremendous job. And to stop the guy with a body shot like that too. And the thing that I like about Nakatani is it's so refreshing to see a rangy fighter actually fight from the outside. That's like one of the things that pisses me off about watching Sebastian Fundora. It's like, bro, you've got a significant height and reach advantage over nearly everybody you face at 150. I'm going to say nearly at everybody he faces. There's nobody I can think of with that height and that reach at 154. And the guy always elects to fight on the inside. It's like, bro, use a jab, please. So to see Nakatani fighting from the inside and actually fighting tall and using his length, it's just refreshing to see. And he also got a nice inside game too because he mixes up his punches well.
Yeah, he does. He does. And we seen that, here, of course, against Santiago. Like he was doing that from from the jump, because he's like, I'm the much taller fighter here in this one. Like, why would I, try to have him, try to get me in the inside, man? Because there were like a couple of instances early where Santiago was able to, land a shot, on him. But then with Nakatani, he kind of like switched it up, man, because he said, "Nah, I'm not gonna allow you to try to get those shots in." So he just, just stay patient and just use the jab and use the length, and you really just didn't see Santiago have much of a shot after that. And then that first knockdown happened, and I was like, this thing is about to be over, and then Nagatani ended up finishing them off, and I was like, yeah, see, why not? That's why, I pretty much I'm giving a whole lot of credit to Nakatani there, man. He's there, 27-0 right now. That was his 20th knockout victory, and I'm like, man, he might be trying to put his name in there in the ranks for like pound for pound fighters among the the bottom 10, 15 or whatever it is. Like with the top 10, he's kind of outside the top 10 of my rankings currently, but he's certainly making a case to try to be in there within the top 10. You know what I'm saying? Because he's a very skilled fighter. Has very good power, and like I said, he mixes it up on the inside too. So he has a good combination of skill, power, movement too, that he's able to utilize there within that super flyweight and bantamweight divisions. Currently they're in the bantamweight division. So big ups Nakatani there with that, man. Yeah. Yeah, Mark Breland. Yeah, Mark Breland. What was that guy, man? 6'2" welterweight with a good game on the inside there, man. That's why, like, I see him there with was it Dominique Crowder? Who's oh man, like, who is he at? He's almost like in around that 122-pound division right now. Like, he's a bantamweight, and he's there like 5'10" in the bantamweight division right now. So he's trying to get back in the ring. I think he's what was it? He was on Four Corners Boxing, I think it was. He had an interview on Four Corners Boxing recently, so y'all be able to catch that. I think that was from last Wednesday that Dominic Crowder was on there. So, but yeah, he's a good young fighter as well. That's within that bantamweight division. But yeah, once you got these other fighters at the top, like we were mentioning, Nakatani's there at the top. You had, like I said, Takuma Inoue in that main event of that card in Japan, was able to get that stoppage victory. So you got some solid fighters out there within bantamweight. After, of course, Naoya Inoue moved up to super bantamweight in order to become the undisputed champion there at super bantamweight as well. So looking forward to seeing what happens there. Like I said, you could have a potential unification bout between Takuma Inoue and Junta Nakatani. If I don't know, maybe they'll say that Takuma Inoue might have a mandatory defense or something like that, maybe, but we'll see. Because with Nakatani, he moved up from 115 to 118. He was already the champ at 115 and moved up to become the mandatory at 118. So they could probably set up something like that to have a unification maybe next. Who knows? But yeah, I'm saying that with Nakatani, very solid fighter, there, and had this impressive win over Santiago, man. Like, he's already looking like he could be probably the top guy at 122, right, or 118 right now. We just have to wait and see. I'm just looking at him on paper as probably the better fighter out there at the bantamweight division. He said, "What's up with Luis Neri? Hey, that's supposed to be the fight for Naoya Inoue. Supposed to be that Luis Neri. That's gonna be taking place in May. They say it's scheduled for May 6th over in Japan. So Inoue versus Neri, May 6th, as Neri is the top-rated contender there in the WBC for those titles at the 122-pound division. So, that's the thing that we're going to be looking forward to in a few months between Naoya Inoue and Luis Neri. It's supposed to be in Japan, and Neri has like a little bit of a backstory there in Japan. So there's going to be a number of fight fans in Japan that are eager to see Naoya Inoue and see if he'll be able to stop Luis Neri and pretty much like try to dissect Luis Neri in that one. So I do have that. But big ups for everybody that's been joining in here so far, man. To joining on this boxing talk, man. Thanks for all of y'all for joining in here live. We try to get more stuff here on the Boxing Source. We got a few interviews that were posted on the channel. We had a couple of fighters that do have fights coming up here for y'all to go ahead and check out. On March 2nd, we have that top ranked fight card that's coming up there. That's supposed to be in Verona, New York. And we have our guy that's coming out of Syracuse, New York. That's going to be on the fight card there, and he's going to be they're on there on ESPN Plus. So y'all be sure to catch that there on ESPN Plus, because we got Bryce Mills that will be on that fight card on March 2nd. That will be, I think it'll be like the second fight that's going to be on the ESPN Plus card there for March 2nd. And then also we have an interview with Guillermo Gutierrez that's going to have a fight on March 18th that will be over in Texas. So y'all be sure to catch those two interviews that are out there. Next up, man, I know that, we had the announcement for Ryan Garcia and Devin Haney. That'll be for the WBC super lightweight title. He said it's going to be Saturday, April 20th at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn. They got the press tour that's supposed to be this week. Tuesday is supposed to be in New York City. Thursday is supposed to be in LA. And they've of course had like a whole lot of back and forth talk, ever since. They had the whole thing a couple of weeks ago during that Super Bowl media day with the whole little skirmish between those two. We know what's up. What's up with their past in the amateurs. They're 3-3 in the amateurs. Of course, Devin Haney, former undisputed champion at 135 pounds, moved up to 140. Defeated Regis Prograis. Pretty much had a shutout victory over Regis Prograis to win the WBC belt at 140. And Ryan Garcia is coming up 1 year after his lone loss to Tank Davis by stoppage, in Las Vegas. What was it? He had the one fight after that, scored a stoppage victory on that one. I'm kind of eager to see what he does here with Derek James in his corner. I really didn't see much, from his fight that he had against Oscar Duarte with that first fight with Derek James. So, who knows what he'll be able to do with that. We got another panelist here, longtime panelist to join us here with the Boxing Talk. What's going on? It's the boxing academic in the building, man. What's happening with you?
Not much. How y'all doing, fellas?
We all good here, man. All good. We had the joystick action from yesterday. Pretty good action yesterday, and just looking forward to seeing what's coming up here in the future, man. You got me on when we were talking about Devin Haney and Ryan Garcia. They're supposed to have their press tour this week. Hopefully I can make it to the one in Brooklyn, but I'm not all too confident that I'll be able to do that. But just looking to see like how this is going to turn out and how much interest people have for this particular fight to take place, particularly with it being in Brooklyn.
Well, I know who you should bet on.
Yeah,
that's not a hard pick to choose.
Yeah, not a hard pick at all. Not a hard pick. Not a hard pick. I know that. Like I said, you got Ryan there with Derek James, but I don't think for a second fight that Derek James could really, show much that could have Ryan Garcia be able to have a good shot here against Devin Haney. I know that Ryan is having that confidence from the amateurs or whatever it is, but amateurs and pros at times is completely different. And Devin's a much different fighter from that point to now.
Oh yeah, definitely a much better fighter. And Devin seemed to be the type of guy to take people serious. I don't think he just takes stuff for granted. At least he hadn't appeared that way. Obviously, he's been in fights that have been competitive, or at least on paper are competitive, and he seemed to always raise his level. Is Garcia going to be the next Adrian Broner in terms of always getting the big fights and falling short, because he's good enough to bring the crowd, but not good enough to beat the top guys? Is he going to be the next Adrian Broner in that sense?
That's a good one. That is a very good one. That could be it. That could be potentially it there for Ryan Garcia, because he has the popularity, he has the following. At least up to now, he doesn't necessarily have the accolades there that Adrian Broner has, because Broner has been able to win world championships in multiple divisions. So, at the very least, Broner was able to do that.
That's true. But they both beat the lower level and just decent guys. Yeah, they'll beat them.
Yeah, like anyone below B level, that's who Broner basically beat. But if it's someone like around B level or above, nah. Like when he lost to Marcos Maidana, or to like a Sean Porter, or to a Mikey Garcia, or to of course Manny Pacquiao. Y'all know I beat that boy.
And who he tied with? Who did he tie with?
Oh gosh, what was his name?
I want to say it was Jesse Vargas.
Jesse Vargas.
Yeah.
Like you said, the right B or C minus.
Yeah. So that right there should have at least at that particular point should have told people where Adrian Broner was. You know what I mean? So he was like, you have a draw against Jesse Vargas, then yeah, man. But that's wild. He was able to have a draw against Jesse Vargas, and that next fight was against Manny Pacquiao. Yo, that's crazy. That's crazy. And
but if his win was, I mean, we always say if. Let me stop saying if. Him throwing his hands more, he at least has a better chance. But then obviously you got the other side of the coin where he may not finish the fight if he let his hands go too much. So yeah. I mean, he is who he is. I'm not gonna say if, because we always said if way back when, 5-6 years ago. So yeah,
he's already been a pro for a long time himself, like 15 years in the game too. So I mean, he is what he is at this point, and as of right now, who knows what his next fight's going to be? I mean,
them two would be a good fight though.
Oh, Ryan versus Adrian Broner.
Yeah.
Hey, that could be it, man. That could probably be some type of a fight that could happen later this year, I guess, if Ryan Garcia falls short against Devin Haney, man. So go ahead.
Ryan could get him a win if he let his hands go. I ain't talking about knock Adrian Broner out. I'm just saying he'll win on the scorecards.
On the scorecard.
If he just let his hands go.
Yeah. So yeah, that would kind of be a fight there, man. And I don't know, that maybe Broner could get some good money off that fight too. So why not have that? As of right now, I have no idea what Broner's doing, if he's still with Don King Promotions or whatever. So hey, maybe you should just wait it out and just see what happens here with this, and kind of figures that out. I know he's been calling out a few folks on Instagram or whatever it is, but at least right now, it's not looking good for him as far as like being in the ring anytime soon, But yeah, the thing with Devin Haney and Ryan Garcia, like, I mean, we'll see, man. I feel like Devin Haney should really outclass Ryan Garcia, And only like Ryan Garcia may have just like a puncher's chance at best there. But you know, I just feel like it's something where this is an opportunity for Devin Haney to kind of like showcase himself or kind of like show himself to, you know, be at another class of fighters or a fighter, you know what I mean? And I know that a number of people are going to like compare this to when Ryan Garcia fought Tank Davis last year. So they're going to have those type of comparisons here for this fight, whether it's, you know, depending on the performance of Devin Haney or, you know, how many people, you know, end up, you know, buying tickets for this fight or how many people watch the pay-per-view. Like it's you know, by default going to be compared to Tank versus Ryan. So because, you know, folks are still saying that fight could still be a possibility there with Devin Haney and Tank Davis. So if that's the case, then they're going to use this fight that's coming up on April 20th to be, you know, a comparison of sorts.
Man, Devin gonna coast in this fight. He gonna get in his low rider and coast.
And go for like another shutout decision.
Yeah, I mean he ain't gonna take no more chances than he got to. He gonna throw his hands enough, but he ain't gonna take no more chances than he got to, and he gonna win a unanimous decision doing that. I mean, if he pressed the issue too much, then like you said, Ryan now has a puncher's chance. So the smartest plan is just, you know, box the man and you know, just win. Is it something that I want to see? Would I want to see him press the issue and get Ryan out there the same way? Well, I mean, the way Tank got him out there is different, but you know, press the issue and get him out there and show he in a different class in that level. Now, if he did that would be very interesting. I'm not sure if he will do that, but you know, more than likely he gonna go a unanimous decision.
Yeah, I'm leaning towards that UD as well there for Devin Haney. You know, we haven't, and it's been since 2019 since Devin Haney has scored a stoppage victory. You know, it's almost like you know, how we were talking about Edgar Berlanga here at the start of this podcast. You know, with him, you know, having those string of knockout victories there, and then he just had like UDs for the next 5 fights before scoring that knockout win last night. But you know, with Devin Haney, he's had these unanimous decision victories, but the thing is, he's faced like, you know, the Jorge Linares, the George Kambosos to become undisputed lightweight, won the rematch, you know, defeated Lomachenko, and then had the shutout victory over Regis Prograis in December. So, you know, he's kind of like showing that with the type of opponents that he's had, he's, you know, been preparing himself against all types of fighters. Now, with the thing that kind of like stood out as far as like his resume goes for some people is that a number of these opponents have been, you know, older than him by a pretty good margin. Whether it's like, you know, 5 years or 6 years or above that, you know, that those are the type of fighters that Devin Haney has faced here recently. So now with Ryan Garcia, it's, you know, somebody that's, you know, within his age range that he's, like I said, he's familiar with, but it's still within his age range. So it's going to be kind of interesting to see how not Ryan Garcia, but Devin Haney deals with Ryan Garcia, with Garcia being a quick twitch guy. We said Abdullah Mason on the undercard. Well, Abdullah Mason's there on the top rank, so he can't really, you know, be on that joint, man. But Abdullah Mason has been suggested as being part of a fight card. There, actually, I'll move towards that because another topic of conversation has been Shakur Stevenson. I don't know if he's retired. I don't know if he's unretired or whatever it is. There was like some leak report that he could, you know, be in a fight this summer. And man, someone said that his opponent could be Jorge Linares. Man, it better not be the Jorge Linares. That better not be the case. He better not be fighting no Jorge Linares. there. I mean, he's a WBC lightweight champion right now. And Jorge Linares, as far as I'm concerned, he's retired. So why in the world would you be fighting Jorge Linares? That don't make no sense at all. Doesn't make any sense at all to have that be to have Jorge Linares be your opponent. So I really don't feel like that's going to be the case. But Shakur Stevenson is likely going to have the defense of the WBC lightweight title. And it's going to be interesting because supposedly that's going to be his last bout under Top Rank. So if they follow through with all that, then this one might be a a gimme fight or whatever it is. We all know what happened with him against Edwin De Los Santos. They don't want another one of those type of fights. I would like to see him there against Raymond Murataya. That would be the fight that I would kind of like have out there for Shakur Stevenson. There, Murataya would, make it an action fight. At least I feel like he would do that. And you will kind of like see what Shakur Stevenson, what he could be capable of, or what he is capable of. Because Shakur Stevenson is very talented fighter, particularly in the defensive department. But we just got to see him in more fights where he can show his offensive capabilities. And I think Raymond Murataya would be able to, get that out of him, But, on the flip side, you got other fighters that are calling him out. Particularly, you got Floyd Schofield. You got Kid Austin, Floyd Schofield, who, has been suggested as an opponent for Keyshawn Davis. But now it looks like Floyd Schofield is going after us, saying that he would want to have a fight with Shakur Stevenson. And we've seen in interviews over the past few days that you have his father out there that's suggesting that particular fight and saying that, hey, he feels like his son could beat Shakur Stevenson. And now Shakur Stevenson is, back on the social media wave. He's on there, typing on the phone or whatever it is. And he says, hey, you don't really need to be facing me. You should face my guy, Abdullah Mason, because we feel like Abdullah Mason could beat you. So I'm like, whoa. So, yeah, if you want to suggest Abdullah Mason, maybe Abdullah Mason on the undercard against Floyd Schofield. And that's what Shakur Stevenson is suggesting. So I don't know, man. But you got Schofield. He's there under Golden Boy Promotions. I felt like he was supposed to be on the Golden Boy card on March 16th. So we supposed to be seeing him on March 16th. And as of right now, I still don't see any opponent out there lined up for him there for March 16th. But he's kind of like climbed up the ranks there at the lightweight division really quickly. He's what is it? He's like number 3 in the WBA, if I'm not mistaken. So he's already like one of those guys to kind of like watch out for at 135 pounds there. Well, number 4 in the WBA. But like he's still one of those young guys to kind of like watch out there for in the lightweight division. Also with Abdullah Mason, but Abdullah Mason is somebody that I don't think Top Rank would kind of like entertain that fight either. So I don't see where that could kind of like fit in. You know what I mean? So while both of those guys are at lightweight, like for Abdullah Mason, he had his fight a few weeks ago where he scored a knockout win, but they ain't gonna put him in there against Floyd Schofield at this particular point. Schofield right now is way ahead of Abdullah Mason as far as like the type of opponents that they put up there against him. So I ain't really entertaining that being a potential fight there in the lightweight division anytime soon. Like maybe you could have Floyd Schofield against Keyshawn Davis, or you got because you ain't gonna have Keyshawn Davis and Abdullah Mason facing each other either. That's not gonna happen. Because like I said, with Mason, he hasn't fought those caliber of opponents yet to put him up there with the Keyshawn Davis or a Floyd Schofield. So that's why like they pretty much saying like Floyd Schofield is like either ready for a Keyshawn Davis or Shakur Stevenson at this point. But for Shakur to kind of like suggest that bout, nah, I don't see that happening. Definitely don't see that happening right there, man. So that's mainly what I had on slate for what's going on, man. For Boxing Academic, man, if you're still here with us, man, I had talked about the whole thing with Edgar Berlanga, right? And he was calling out Canelo Alvarez or whatever it is. But I say like Canelo, that shouldn't even be in the cards for Edgar Berlanga. He should go ahead and try to go after a Diego Pacheco there at super middleweight. Even though there's guys that have kind of like called out Berlanga. You got Gabe Rosado that called out Edgar Berlanga. He was in attendance at that fight card in Orlando. And you also had like David Morrell Jr. that was out there. And Berlanga definitely didn't want to say anything about Morrell Jr. So why not go ahead and face Diego Pacheco, another undefeated fighter there at super middleweight? But what do you think about Berlanga, like what he did in his fight last night, and what chance do you see him have against Canelo Alvarez, or him fighting Canelo Alvarez to basically say that?
So who did you say called Berlanga out?
Gabe Rosado.
Gabe Rosado. So Gabe Rosado calling Berlanga out should tell you everything you need to know about Edgar Berlanga. If Gabe Rosado thinks that he can beat him, there's a reason for that. Gabe ain't just out there. I mean, outside of like wanting paydays and stuff, he ain't out there calling out, the dogs in the division and stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like he doing his thing. Obviously, the Munguia fight didn't end well for him, but that should kind of tell you where it is. Unfortunately, I was traveling and I didn't see the Berlanga fight, but I could ask you how it went. But if it's like any other one of his fights, I'm sure it was interesting until maybe he overpowered the person or something. But yeah. I'm sure he probably got touched a few times in the beginning or something. And then, I mean, that's typically how it go.
Yeah, but he got a few bruises here and there, but like I said, nothing really significant landed on Berlanga. But he, kind of like adjusted a few things. Was going to the body, which kind of shifted the course of the fight. Or made it significantly in his favor up until the stoppage there in the 6th round. So he was working. He did a few things pretty well, but he still has like a long way to go before he becomes more of a complete fighter and a serious contender there at 168 pounds.
Well, the thing that we say about everybody else, again, he is who he is. Unless one thing I can't say about Anthony Joshua, I got to give Anthony Joshua this. Anthony Joshua don't have an identity as far as I can see. I don't think he really has like a core identity. However, I do think, once he sort of got his confidence back, him having worked with different trainers was probably ultimately good for him, because now looking at different things, learning those different things from those people, and with him now being confident, I think he's a better fighter, just, off of him just believing in himself, and then, add in just a few more skills there. So, yeah, I don't see how that couldn't help Berlanga to, get somebody maybe more defensively responsible. I don't know. Yeah, I'm not going to put thought into what would help him, but all I'm just using is AJ as an example to simply say that I think AJ's a better fighter now since he has his confidence back. And that's a result of him having went through the different styles of trainers.
Yeah, I mean, he's went through, about four trainers. Like he had his Rob McCracken, he's had Robert Garcia, he's had Derek James, and now with Ben Davison, And with Ben Davison, it's looking like he's kind of like been more closer to what he was as far as like trying to be more confident and put more punches together and working off of that. So I guess he's sticking there with Ben Davison. Like I said, for his last fight that he had in December, there, and now coming up in March against Francis Ngannou, and then in the near future. But he's kind of like been more experienced there and had those fights, those high level fights to kind of like show like where he needs to be at in the heavyweight division. And for Berlanga, we just had a couple of trainers. Now he's back with his first trainer, and he's looking like he's trying to get more into a groove as far as like trying to set up shots more. But yeah, he probably needs to do a little bit more work as far as trying to figure out what his best weapon is and how to set up that weapon. So I'm thinking here, if he has another couple of fights down the line, then he'll be able to work towards getting that done. But like you said there with Gabe Rosado calling him out, that shows the level of where Edgar Berlanga is at this particular point, because Gabe Rosado, he's lost the last 4 fights there after getting that knockout win over Beck the Bully in 2021, and he ended up losing a rematch last year, pretty much is almost a year ago. And ever since then, it's just been like, okay, what is Gabe Rosado going to do at this particular point? I mean, he's already there with 17 losses, right now. So, I mean, even if he goes in there and he says like he has the confidence that he could, do some work on Edgar Berlanga, then Edgar Berlanga shouldn't really even suggest going after Canelo Alvarez. That shouldn't even be in his, stratosphere right now. So
Yeah.
I'd say he needs to, pull back. Say maybe try to have that fight with Gabe Rosado entertained, or at least for the time being. At least I would say you could probably just go right back out and then try to have a fight with Gabe Rosado, because my suggestion for Edgar Berlanga as an opponent there, he should be suggesting a fight against Diego Pacheco, because Pacheco is right there around the top 10 of the 168-pound division, undefeated, young fighter there, 22 years old, has a fight coming up in April, and I feel like he is a really, really good test there for Edgar Berlanga to see if Berlanga is ready to fight the top guys at 168. So, like, fighting a Canelo, no. Fighting a David Morrell, nah. Like, Benavidez shouldn't be suggested. Like, none of those guys. Like, go ahead and
Canelo would fight him if Canelo wanted a light touch, and wanted sort of a break in a sense, somebody that he knew he could break down. Now, Berlanga could make things quasi difficult, like he could frustrate Canelo, but the outcome gonna be the outcome, which is a big shot that concusses him. And either he is laying on his back or they stop the fight because they don't want him to lay on his back. But he could, frustrate Canelo a little bit. Early, maybe.
I mean, yeah, early. I don't know, but it maybe with his power, I guess he could probably do something with his power. But like
I'm saying old Canelo who don't throw punches no more. He only throws single shots. One of them single shots will land, but old Canelo, kind of needs you to stay there and to hit you with a big slugging shot.
Yeah. So
yeah, well, okay. I'm not saying he gonna do like Erislandy Lara, and then I'm just saying that early, like first 3, maybe 4 rounds, he could stay away, or maybe he couldn't. Actually, I need to go and watch him again. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
we know what the outcome will be, though.
Yeah, we do. Yeah. I mean, yeah, and seeing like you don't see there being much frustration. I feel like it's something where he where Canelo would just walk through Edgar Berlanga, even or that, or just the level of his experience would just be way too much for Berlanga at this point. So for Berlanga and Eddie Hearn to like mention that as a potential matchup or having that be next for Berlanga, like that shouldn't be under consideration though. So yeah, I don't know why they even entertain that. There's a number of better fights that are out there for Edgar Berlanga to have before he even thinks about fighting Canelo Alvarez. So there's that, man. But yeah, that was mostly what I had. I mean, I haven't seen like anything that has been an update in reference to Canelo Alvarez. Like they said, he's supposed to be fighting on May 4th. I know that some people have reported that like Berlanga's manager has mentioned that he's had talks with Eddie Hearn as far as like having a Canelo versus Berlanga fight this year, but I'm like, nah, that just ain't it, So that's why I'm like, we just gonna wait to see what Canelo says as far as like May is concerned, and then after that September, and then once that happens, then everybody else in the 168-pound division could sort themselves out. So that's mainly what I got in reference to that. As far as like action coming up next week, you really don't have that much going on there, so we're just waiting to see. I think it's what is it? We got the Serrano's fighting on March 2nd. You got, of course, the Joshua versus Ngannou fight card on March 8th. I'm still kind of surprised that thing is on Friday, but it is what it is with that. And you're gonna have a few other fights on there. Of course, the co-feature bout for that is Zalea Zhang versus Joseph Parker. They're also at heavyweight, so I feel like that's going to be a very good fight between those two fighters there. But yeah, outside of that, we would have to just be on the lookout for more action that's going on. You do have the also had a fight card on March 2nd that I mentioned. That'll be on Top Rank ESPN Plus. Remember, like Bryce Mills is going up against Fred Ngannou. That's going to be on that fight card. We do have Bryce Mills that talked about that fight. That's on the YouTube channel, so y'all be sure to check that out. The main event for that is Luis Alberto Lopez versus Rhea Abe for the IBF featherweight title, and you also got Raymond Ford going up against Otabek Kolmatov for the vacant WBA featherweight title. So there'll be some more action there. So March 2nd, you got fights on ESPN, ESPN Plus, and on DAZN. Also, because that Serrano versus Nina Minky fight, you're gonna also have Jake Paul on that fight card, and you'll have a junior flyweight title fight on that San Juan Puerto Rico card. So there's that, man. But that's hold on, Ant.
I'm about to say I got a question too.
All right, what is it?
Are you gonna go this telecast without mentioning Clarissa Shields' MMA fight? JR, are you gonna really do that? Really? Is that what you're really gonna do? Are you trying to say something? Are you trying to tell the boxing audience something?
Hey, listen. This is about boxing. It's only about boxing.
It's always been about boxing.
It's always been about boxing. So whatever boxing people do outside of boxing, listen, I'm here to tell you right now, I don't care.
Hey, but the clip that Terrell sent me, she looked good throwing her hands in them little few clips that they shared. Like she would look good throwing the combination. So I can at least say that about her being a boxer.
Yeah, but unless she fighting Alicia Baumgartner or having another fight, there with Franchon Cruz Zern or something like that, man. It is what it is, man.
Matt, which part do you agree with? Because we said two things.
Yeah, Matt on the live joint here, man. Which part you agree with? What I said about Clarissa Shields in the MMA, or or her performance at the Box Academic talked about, because like I said, I mean, you said Clarissa Shields, so he said he agrees with the performance there from Clarissa Shields there. You know what I'm saying? But I'm not necessarily touching all that. Like I'm pretty much like in the same level of that I am of Clarissa Shields, still mentioning Keith Thurman's name. Come on, man. Why are you still mentioning Keith Thurman?
Well, it's smart. We know why she keep mentioning it. It's the same reason that people they make telecasts to announce stuff on social media. I mean, that's just her way to stay relevant, because she trying to bring attention to herself, to her sport, because I just it feels like women's basketball. Not a lot of dunks.
Oh,
you know what I'm saying? And so her talking about like, oh yeah, I'd be the man. That's bringing eyes. I get it. I mean, she doing what she need to do to bring attention to herself, whether good or bad. Black.
Hey man, Black House hasn't been mentioned in a minute, so I don't know, man. But yeah, I mean, she had that whole little back and forth with Alicia Baumgartner. And crazy thing is, what was last month or a couple months ago, like Clarissa Shields and Baumgartner were like in the same building or the same event or whatever it is, and they didn't really mention anything or do anything to kind of like try to say that there could be a fight there in the near future. But I guess
Clarissa called the girl a hater. She said she a hater.
That she's a hater. I'm like, oh, okay. I guess she is or something like that. But at least as of right now, for women's boxing, that's probably the biggest fight that could be made outside of maybe a rematch between Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano. So I don't know why they won't suggest having that fight take place. Some folks are talking about maybe Alicia Baumgartner and Michaela Mayer should have a rematch. I'm like, nah, nope. That wouldn't get nearly enough attention as a fight with Clarissa Shields and Alicia Baumgartner would. At least I don't think so.
And Clarissa would be favored.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So you think that she thinking that she the only one who got something to lose?
That might be it. That might be it, but I don't think so. She's very confident. She's a very confident fighter. She don't feel like there's anybody that's in the boxing game right now that could beat her. So that's why she's kind of like, going into the whole thing with MMA. I think she's 2-1 in MMA so far.
Yeah.
And she's kind of like suggested trying to fight, some of these other fighters in MMA. So it looks like as of right now, she's really not concerned about, what's going on in boxing at this point. So
she's so confident that if you do knock her down, she'll blame it on loaded gloves, or say you mess with the padding or something like that. Not that you physically stronger than me, and that's what happened when you step in the ring.
Step in the ring, I guess so, but I don't know, because you also do have like other fighters that were there, coming out of Flint, Michigan, that have sparred with her too. So and they say like, she's kind of a solid fighter, but I mean, it is what it is with that. I just want to see what's next for her in the boxing ring. that's pretty much it. I might have to talk with a promoter about all that and see what's going on with it. So yeah, that's what's going on, man. But yeah, I really didn't want to entertain what was going on in the cage there with Clarissa Shields.
Yeah, it's not. It wasn't like I
Yeah.
was being funny, but yeah.
All right. But yeah, that's what I got here, man, for this Boxing Source podcast. Big ups to the Boxing Academic and Ann McQueen for joining us here on the live conversation. And shout out to everybody that's in the chat, particularly there, Matt Gomez, Supreme Beast Boxing Talk. Big ups to you, man. Champ Ross has been in the building, as well as Juice and Tim Layton as well. But for those that enjoy this conversation, you know what I'm saying, y'all go ahead and hit the like button, and also share this conversation. Share the Boxing Source podcast. So for those be able to join in, we have the midweek report usually on Wednesdays at 7:30 p.m. Eastern time, and then of course the Boxing Source podcast is Sunday night 7:30 p.m. Eastern time here. And also check out the interviews that we have on the Boxing channel. And like I said, it's an outside chance, but hopefully I can make it out there to New York on Tuesday for the press conference, the first press conference for Devin, Haney, and Ryan Garcia. So we'll be able to do that there. But outside of that, man, that's pretty much what we have. And like I said, the end of every show, folks, point of boxing is hit, not get hit, not to send and trade. On that note, folks, I'm out. Have a good evening, everybody.